What's up, people? Bibisara is the most aggressive player in the women's elite, and in this game she demonstrated too in the Armageddon against Yu and Yun. It's a very interesting on sacrificing the opening with white. Okay, she opened with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight f3, and here Yu and Yun chooses the queen's Indian. So we're going to see a very interesting option against the queen's Indian. d3. Okay, here bishop a6 is the other normal move, but bishop b7 is too employed. Bishop d2, bishop b7. Here, Asobayeva employed d5. Very interesting pawn sacrifice. It's very thematical in this type of positions to play bishop. Sorry, to play knight h4 after this pawn was taken. And it's very typical with the bishops on b7 and on g2. Because after it takes, this pawn is pinned, and with knight h4 we are first putting pressure into d5 and going to f5 with the knight. So very typical pawn sacrifice. But in this exactly position there is no so common. There are just 70 games in this position. The idea is normal, but in this exactly position is not so common. Black can not accept the pawn, but one day he should just accept it. So it takes d5 is normal, and here the main move is knight h4. It's the typical move in these positions. Like I said, going with knight f5 and threatening take on d5. For example, so here short castle is not possible because white takes, so c6 is the main move. Knight f5, short castle, takes, and okay, they can enter in a similar position than the game, with the knight on f5. But I like the move employed by Asobayeva because it's less force, because okay, with knight h5 you are forcing your opponent more or less to play c6, and all the black moves are more or less easier. And you are feeling that you are going to go with your knight to f5. But I prefer knight d4 because okay, you keep the knight in the center, and maybe you are going to go to f5, but you can keep the knight on d4 for some moves. And you are not forcing black to play. Here black can play your c6 or long or short castle because the d5 pawn is not under attack. So very interesting move, knight d4. Short castle c6 by Yu and Yun, defending the d5 pawn, and one day she should play this move. And now c takes, and e4, trying to win space in the center. Now after c6, black is threatening to take on c4. That's the idea, other of the ideas of c6. That's why now we should take here. Knight takes, of course, and c takes d5 is a very weird move because the bishop here is completely dead, and these two pawns are really bad. And apart this, the knight on d4 is a completely beast. So knight takes d5 is the most logical move. e4 by Asobayeva. Knight c7, knight c3. That's the normal setup of white in this position. And here, till here, Yu and Yun is playing perfect, but here she missed a little bit. She should play or d5, breaking the center, who looks the most natural move. You have problem with the development and problem with the space, so you try to fight for the space and open your pieces. And if one day you lose the d5 pawn, doesn't care because okay, the position is going to be equal. So d5 looks very natural, trying to trade pieces, or d6 is playable too. And for example, if rook e1 now is a good moment to play g6, because white have now the plan of bishop h6, rook e8, and then e5, because e5 is defended by the d pawn. And apart, the rook on e1 here cannot make more the plan of f4, f5. Not especially because white have no bishop h6 follow a5. Because the problem of g6 here is that after bishop h6, rook e8 here, e5 is very annoying because white is coming with all the pieces and black have some troubles to defend the king. Now 94 is coming, so I really like white position here after possible 94. So here e5 was very strong, opening the bishop and opening the e5 square with the knight and controlling these two squares. Instead of that, Bibisara played queen d2. She have a more simple plan, just develop the pieces and push f4, f5. Oh, it's an interesting plan too. Again, d6 here was the best move, covering the e5 square and being ready to play knight d7. Or c5 is a very logical move too. You are opening your bishop and you are ejecting the knight from the center. So c5 was very natural. Okay, the only problem who could have is that you are giving the d5 square. but I think that c5 is fine, and d6 is the normal move. Knight d6, rook a1, still placing pieces into the center, knight a6, and here again e5 was the strongest move, to gain with knight e4. But here, as Aguayoa played knight e2, okay, it's not the best move according to the machine, but have a clear plan, who is f4, f5. He's keeping pieces over the board, because he have more spatial advantage, and the knight on e6 is vulnerable after a future f4, f5 attack. So this is not the best move according to the machine, but have a lot of sense. And you are putting black in a difficult task to defend now the position, because white plan is very easy. We have all his pieces perfect, so the plan is f4, f4, f5. So it's now the black the guy who should make a good plan. Now, very bad move by Yuyan Jun, c5. I don't like this move because, okay, first you are giving the d5 square. Good. Okay, then 2 moves ago I said that c5 is good, but c5 is good first because you are attacking the d4 knight, you are winning a tempo, you have the knight on c7 defending the d5 square, and you still having this knight on b8 who can be developed to b6, to c6, sorry. But here, 2 moves later, here c5 have no sense because first you are not winning a tempo against the d4 knight. Secondly, the knight is coming to d5, and now the knight is not on c7 to cover that square, and this knight is misplaced here. So the knight now cannot came to c6. So, and added to all of this move is very slow. Other of the problems of c5, not only all the positional troubles, the other problem is that f4, f5 is coming very fast, and you are not creating nothing to counter that with black. That's why here b5 was stronger. Okay, if f4, the idea here is b4 and going fast. That's what black should play, a faster play. Or knight a7 could be another possibility, trying to play with d5 one day. But I like here b5, trying to go fast with b4 and attack the c3 knight who have no good squares to go back. Maybe again against b5, e5 here looks most natural move to have the a4 square. But okay, white is fine anyway. But c5 was a decisive mistake, because after f4, yes, white is completely winning. Let's understand the position. Okay, black have an extra pawn, but let's see the difference between the pieces. This bishop is very active on its 6. Okay, this bishop is fine here. The rook is future open file because f5 is coming. These two pieces are in open file too, attacking d7. And okay, the knights are fine, and the most important, these 2 pawns are very strong. And black pawn structure, okay, he have an extra pawn, but he have the d7 weak pawn on the d7 weak pawn. This knight is so far from the game on its 6. Then and yes, just simply f5 is coming, and black have no way to stop it. Knight d4, preventing f5, but okay. Here f5 anyway was the best option, just keeping all the tension in the center. There is no reason to take on d4, because okay, take on d4 to later don't take the pawn have no really sense. Okay, you cannot take the pawn because the queen is hanging, but I don't like take there because you are opening this knight and you are opening the bishop, especially the knight. So for that reason here f5 was better. But okay, knight d4 and knight d5 still being white advantage. Bishop takes, bishop f6, f5, very good move, opening the position. And now again, very good move, opening the light square bishop. Let's see that white pieces are very active. Rook b8. Now she played before, who is fine. It's a logical move. His idea is control the knight from land to c5. Here h4 was stronger, and after takes g4. That's the hardest way to attack. And okay, g5 is coming now. So the idea of h4 followed by g4 was very interesting. And rook d1 was playable too, but okay, before is fine. Up here, black have this very strong move, rook e3, activating the rook and blockading the queen. So I really like rook e3. Instead of that, he played b5. Again, she wants to play rook b6 or queen b6 to take on d6, but this plan is very, very slow. Now rook d1, takes, and queen b6, but now the black king is so exposed, and these two bishops are very strong. So now finally white wins material, taking the rook, and now checkmate. So very good Armageddon game by Bibisara, and with a very interesting opening idea. In this tournament, the players are coming with better ideas in the Armageddons than in the classical games. So if you play Queen's Pawn, you can employ this opening idea against the Queen's Gambit. Remember d5 here, this pawn sacrifice, and after pawn takes knight d4, and play this type of position with more space. So okay, I hope that you learn with this game and you enjoy. Bibisara is still being in the top of the Norway chess women's section. So let's see how continue the tournament. Bye bye.